Hello and welcome to the Car Nerd Talks, where today I'm going to be talking about the Lamborghini Gallardo, which up until the Huracan was the best-selling Lamborghini of all time. And we're going to jump straight into this right after you hit that damn like button and hit subscribe. Lamborghini had not made a baby Lambo since 1988 with the end of the Jalpa. However, it's not to say that they didn't want to produce one, just it was a long time coming. Things kept going against them. First of all, in the early 1980s, when the Mimran brothers owned Lamborghini, they started into production a concept car called the P140, and they handed over design of this to legendary Marcello Gandini, who had designed the Countach, was designing the Diablo, and had designed the Miura before it. And they asked him to come up with a V10 based concept car that their company was also working on, a lower end supercar that would be able to sell in much higher volumes, much like the Jalpa. It was basically a replacement for that. Unfortunately, in 1987, the company was sold to Chrysler, but Chrysler basically started doubling down on the investment in a V10 baby Lambo because they knew it would be a big seller, just like they had taken over development of the Diablo, which was already in the development phase. Unfortunately, the Gulf oil crisis hit and the P140 was scrapped. However, they did design a new car, or at least start to, and they handed over Ital Design, which was owned a lot by Lamborghini. They handed over to Ital Design a concept of what they wanted for their new V10 Jalpa replacement. And Ital Design started producing something called the Lamborghini Cala. Now in 1994, Lamborghini was sold once again to a company called Megatech, and they wanted to make the first real supercars from America to compete with the Italian supercar companies. So they doubled down again and invested in the Lamborghini Cala design and finished it. And in 1995 at the Geneva Auto Show, they showed off the Lamborghini Cala. And as you can see, it's loosely based on a Miura, and you can kind of see where some of the design elements come from for the Gallardo, because it was basically loosely based on this design. However, then again, Lamborghini was sold in 1998 to VW, and they took the Cala, looked at it, and shelved it, just like everyone else had. So unfortunately, it would be another few years before we'd see a baby Lambo. But Volkswagen basically handed over Lamborghini to Audi AG and said, you guys know sports cars and luxury cars, and go ahead and do what you need to do. So they started development on the next V12 to replace the Diablo, which they did in 2001 with the Murcielago. But they knew that the Diablo had sold 2,000 units, and by the end of the Murcielago run it was 4,000 units. They needed a home run because Volkswagen is a numbers business. So they started working on a baby Lambo, and they unshelved that Cala and handed it over to one of their designers to take a look. And essentially in 2003, they had built a brand new V10 engine and a whole new chassis and a whole new body, and unveiled the Lamborghini Gallardo. The design of this car was handed over to Luc Duckevalka. I can't pronounce his name properly because I'm not German. But he was also involved in prior cars to this. For example, he had redesigned the Diablo, the VT6 liter, which was released in 1999 under VW's ownership. He had also recently done the Skoda Octavia, so you know that's a good one. Mixed bag, really, I guess. But he would go on to design the Bentley Flying Spur, which was incredible, and the Seat Ibiza, which I did a video about up here. Yeah. He decided to make a whole new car from this Gallardo and designed out something that would live up to the old wedge shape of Lamborghini but fit in as a brother to the Murcielago, and that's what he came up with. It looks stunning. The car at the front has an aggressive front nose but kind of mixes that Miura style lights, and then the windscreen from the Countach. It looks amazing, but a lot more aggressive and aerodynamic than anything else that Lamborghini had made before, and it was a perfect place to drop an Audi V10, which we'll talk about soon. Around the back of the car, the dual circular tail tips on the exhaust also look aggressive. It had a weird kind of ridged shape on the car, but it looked good all the same, and the lights look like they're moving fast even when you're parked. This was a beautiful looking car, and so good of a chassis in fact that the Audi R8 was built on it, and the new Audi R8 is built on the chassis of the Huracan. As I've said before, this was a V10 Lamborghini, unlike the V12 Daddy that was the Murcielago, but that doesn't mean that this car was any less incredible. That V10 Audi managed to produce 492 brake horsepower and 373 pound-feet of torque, which gave this car an incredible amount of power. It was even firing as well, so the noise was like a jackhammer choir coming from behind you, and it just sounded incredible. It was mounted at 90 degrees. Everything about this engine is just absolutely perfect, and because of that engine, the car would hit 0 to 60 in 4.1 seconds before continuing on to 192 miles an hour. And this was one of the last cars that had the option of a manual. You could have a 7-speed manual, gated, I believe it was, the gated manuals, but it also introduced the new E-gear, which, as Jeremy Clarkson always calls it, the floppy paddle gearbox, which if you went for that, you're an idiot, because it was a single clutch, whereas at least now on the new Huracan, it is a double clutch setup, which is a lot easier and better to drive. So my final word on the Lamborghini Gallardo is that in the years that preceded it, Lamborghini had made on average 250 cars a year. Between 1950s and 2000, Lamborghini had built between the 1950s and 2014, Lamborghini had built around 30,000 cars, and 14,000 of those have been Gallardos. So there was a lot of pressure to replace it with a Huracan, but that was a success as well, which we'll talk about later in the week. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and check back in tonight on this very channel for the new nightly news show that's going to be launched as well. It's called Late Night with the Car Nerd, or Car Nerd Late Night. I haven't really gotten around to that yet, but anyway. And next week we're going to be doing a full half-an-hour show every night with segments recorded out on the streets and that kind of thing as well. So looking forward to that. Flies keep landing on my face. Thank you so much for watching. Talk to you tomorrow.